if it was just up to me, I would probably just spend the entire 40 minutes talking about your time at Walsall.
It's a fantastic club. There's just so much potential in this club.
You probably didn't need specifically, in order to follow your profession, to actually go across to Europe and take on as much as you did.
Would never have been able to learn that in Australia because we don't have access to that knowledge and that level.
You played a bit of tennis as well, didn't you, when you were young, to a decent standard?
I was going around the circuit and playing tournaments and things like that.
Now, what was he like as a teammate back then?
It was very much like he is now. He's just got so much energy about him and very positive. Played against Steven Gerrard at Liverpool. He was one of those guys that was just, I mean, he just controlled the game, you know.
Hi guys, Gareth Morgan here, welcoming you to another edition of Glory Stories, the club's official podcast, brought to you in association with our proud sponsors and great friends, Drimtel. Now, before I go any further, I do have to sincerely thank the Deanies for being kind enough to allow us to use a slither of their superb track Last Minute Winner as our theme tune for the podcast. If you're not across the Deanies, seriously, where have you been? The lads are absolutely on the crest of a wave at the moment. Big Glory fans. Last year they were over in the UK and Ireland on tour. That went extremely well. They've got new music coming out later this year, so you really do need to check them out, and it is absolutely fantastic that we can share a little bit of their music here on the pod. Now, if you are joining us on Glory Stories for the first time, welcome along. Just to give you a sort of premise of what we're all about, essentially we take a deep dive into all things Perth Glory, and we do that by catching up with some of the biggest names, the club's biggest names past and present. And we've rolled out another big gun for episode 3 because I'm delighted to say that I'm joined in the studio today by none other than Glory's ALM head coach, David Zdrilic. Driller, fantastic to see you, mate. How's things?
Good to be here. Good to see you as well. Things are going well, mate. So, yeah, pleasure as always, and for the fans to be involved in something like this. So, yeah, let's get stuck into it.
Yeah, you're looking a bit anxious. The questions are fine.
I don't know what I'm in for,
are fine. Now, full transparency, mate.
Yeah.
If it was just up to me, I would probably just spend the entire 40 minutes talking about your time at Walsall in the early 2000s. But I do appreciate that's a little bit niche, perhaps, for this audience.
A little
so
bit, yeah.
We may touch on it later, but
Okay.
let's start with the here and now. You've been in charge for 7 months. How would you, it's a wide-ranging question this, but how would you describe the experience so far, and how has it kind of matched up with the expectations that you had before you came in?
Oh, it's definitely been an exciting experience, and you know, I mean, a lot of the focus will be on the results and the way the season has gone, which is part of, you know, what we're doing in the job. But generally, you know, it's a fantastic club. There's just so much potential in this club, and how has it gone? The expectation. I mean, it's a lot bigger job than I expected, and not bigger job in terms of. It's just the club needs a lot of rebuilding and the layers of work that we need to do to make sure that we have the foundation that we need to have continued success, not just quickly. It needs to be sustained, you know, and that takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of layers to that, and that challenge is not greater than we expected, but I was hoping to have a little bit more momentum and be able to change things a little bit quicker, but it's just difficult because you just can't do everything that you want to do as quickly as you want to. And I think the start, coming in and starting so well in the Australia Cup, and you know playing some really good football, you know, gave everyone a really positive vibe, me included. But obviously there's a lot of things that have brought the club to where it's been in recent years, and those things, you know, that's a longer process trying to correct all of that. But we're well on the way to doing that, and I think slowly you can see the changes happening with the playing group, you know, on the field, but also off the field. There's a lot of things happening. I think that you can sort of feel like there's something different about the team in the last few weeks as opposed to the start of the season.
As you mentioned, it's a team that's evolving, it's a club that's evolving, and it's a process that's in place. But I know how competitive you are, and the defeats. There's no doubt the defeats, they would have hurt you seriously personally. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's not easy. Like any game that I play, whether it's with my mates or just not a very good loser. But as a coach, definitely have to and for me, it's been an experience of how I've dealt with losing as a player, losing, or even an assistant coach. It's different as a head coach. I just really focus on what needs to be done, and some of the things I obviously don't enjoy it, and I don't want it, but I do have a clear understanding of what needs to be done to turn things around, and that process is not always immediate. So yeah, not nice to lose the games, but also very clear on what needs to be done to make sure that we turn it around. And again, slowly with the performances at least have been much better in recent weeks. Maybe could have got a few more wins in there, but definitely we've given ourselves a shot in winning, and we want to keep building on that now.
Now, in modern football, the head coach is the figurehead of the club. When the club's going well, you're hailed as the messiah. When it's not, you're the worst coach in the world. Can it be quite a lonely place sometimes when that is all placed squarely on your shoulders?
Yeah, it can be, but it's. I always, I didn't take head coaching jobs too soon, because I thought I'm very aware of what I needed to do to have the character and experience to deal with whatever comes at me. When you're winning games, like we were very early on when I came in, everything's easy and great. When you're losing games, then it's like everything you do is basically wrong. Pretty much, or the perception is that. So it can be lonely, but I'm well prepared for this role. So I've done the training, I've done the yards, I've gone overseas, I've worked in many different environments, in different cultures. So I understand that, and I'm very calm about my role, and I'm just very clear and focused in what needs to be done to fix it. And some things we can do immediately, and you've seen some changes that we've made. Other things we have to be a little bit more patient, which is not a strong virtue of mine, I must say, but definitely, yeah. And I've got a good support system in terms of the staff and my family and all of this stuff that, so you're alone because it's just you and everyone's focused on you, but there's so many people around that are in your camp, and not just me, the team and all of that. And if that's strong and the culture is what we're trying to build is strong, then you can navigate these times. But obviously our very big aim is that we want to start winning games, and we've shown a little glimpse of the exciting football that we want to play, but obviously nowhere near enough. Once that starts kicking in, rolling in, and the new players are coming in, and just adapting, I think you can see at home, especially with our fans. And it didn't take much for them to really, just get on board against Western United. It was a great game. Auckland, we won. Even Western Sydney Wanderers, that, after a bad start, you could just feel like something's different, but we need more. We need more. So that's my only focus.
So as you said, the squad has evolved. You're relatively pleased with the January transfer window, one way and another. I know this is a difficult question, but how much closer are you now to having a squad that you feel can play the way you'd like it to play than you were perhaps at the start of the season?
Yeah, it is a tough one. I mean, I think for what we were able to do, I think this transfer window has been good for us, because we can immediately see, like, Lockie Ways just came on and scored a goal, and he's, these guys are getting back to full fitness, coming from different playing levels and fitness levels. So, which is a story we've had all year, to be honest, because even though we had 3 months pre-season, half the squad were not there for the whole 3 months. So we were, it's just, I think we've spoken a lot about that, and it's really impacted the team. So this constant changing of the lineup has just happened for the first 15 weeks. So when you talk about the style of play, and probably the biggest challenge we've had is that the same lineup hasn't played consistently. The 4 games that we had in I can't remember how many days it was, but West United, we went Macarthur, Sydney, Auckland, and Western Sydney Wanderers. the same lineup was playing more or less week to week, and you saw the improvement of that. We haven't been able to do that. So to keep producing the football and keep taking each step to go more aggressive and more ramp up the intensity, it basically takes time in terms of the same guys playing over and over again. But we're getting closer. But I still think that we need, there's more work to be done in terms of, the playing stuff. We were very limited in what we could do previous to me coming in, and the time since I came in, there wasn't much movement anyway. So that will take time, but at least now you're seeing some signs of going back to what we saw in the pre-season. Been a lot of player turnover, a lot of changes in the lineup. That's never good for consistency in the way we play, but we're trying now to do that. Having said that, we've got 3 young Socceroo boys that are going to be leaving us after the next game, which is a positive, but also it just means more adaptation, more changes, and but I think as a group the mentality's been very good, and it's changed to a very, very positive one in recent weeks.
All right, well, I just want to go back to something that you mentioned a moment or two ago, which is the fact that you chose to go overseas. And I'm just imagining, obviously you were already coaching at Sydney United, You'd had a high-profile playing career, well connected in the game. You could probably have taken the easier route. I imagine you would have had coaching offers regardless. You probably didn't need specifically, in order to follow your profession, to actually go across to Europe and take on as much as you did. So what was it that drove you to do that?
I'm very self-aware of what I'm capable of and what I need to learn. So when I was coaching, I was also doing a lot of TV work, so I wasn't immersed in the coaching, but I also realised, watching some of the other coaches that I was exposed to, Graham Arnold was one of them, and I saw the levels that they were at in terms of the processes, and I just realised that I need to go and learn as much as I can from the best I can learn from in my network, and so I had to go into my contacts. Obviously Ralph Rangnick was at Red Bull running the whole thing, and predominantly at Leipzig. So I just realised that if I want to be the best that I want to be, I have to go and learn as much as I can. So, I was fortunate. I was able to get a job, and he gave me a job working at Leipzig, and I was able to learn not just it's a clear philosophy, but it's more than that. There's so many things about coaching and developing squads and culture and academy setup and the whole infrastructure, how philosophy runs through a club. So there's many layers to it, and that was set up over 10 years before I got there, and just watching how they progressed and then being part of the next evolution of it just helped me so much in terms of it's not just putting out a team and coaching. There's so much more behind it, and I learned. I would never have been able to learn that in Australia because we don't have access to that knowledge and that level. So that's why it was clear to me I had to go overseas, and if I was going to be the best I can be, I wouldn't learn and develop as quickly or to the level that I think I am now if I didn't go overseas. And I'm very thankful for that, because it wasn't only the terms of philosophy and the style of play. It was just so many things that I learned about coaching that all around it that have just improved my overall knowledge.
So you've backed yourself there, and having worked with you closely this year, your self-belief is strong. There's no doubt about that. I've seen, you've copped a lot of criticism. You've fronted up for everything. We've never had a crossword. You've never knocked anything back in terms of media. You've always gone out there. You've always answered the questions in a sort of thoughtful way, never snapped in a media conference, and credit to you for that. Where does that self-belief and that, I suppose, mental strength come from? Is that from your upbringing? Is it from your playing days? What would you put that down to?
It's a bit of everything. I mean, I got brought up in a very, strong Croatian background, so European background where nothing was given to us. We had to work and, fight for everything. So, and had to work hard, so that work ethic was there. The belief in terms of dealing with adversity, whatever life adversity or we weren't terribly well off when I was younger, and so got used to really having to fight and work for everything, and and that's just part of it. But then all through my journey as a football player and in TV as well, and all the things I've done after, now coaching, I've always come up been in situations where there's something that's really hasn't been comfortable, and I've put myself out there in situations that are outside my comfort zone, and that initially it was very difficult. Some playing situations, first one in Switzerland, where I went over from Sydney United, I went overseas to Switzerland. From the national team, I just got into the national team, but I was more of a fringe player, and it was like a holiday. But then when reality set in, I was like, I just couldn't live there. I just felt I couldn't live there. Then my whole world's changed. It was very difficult for me. But eventually, once I got over that, I was so much stronger. So I learned from that is that once you get through the tough times, you jump 10 levels, and that's happened on many different occasions. So this is just another one. I understand the results are what everybody's focused on, and they can't see anywhere near what's happening in the background. And I'm not really sure that anyone cares. It's the coach. You need to fix it, and that's it. But I understand what's going on, and I understand where I'm at, and I understand what I need to do, and that's all I focus on. And that when we get all of this right, and when we're playing the way we want to play, and we get all the players in, we've fixed all the things around the club that we need to, and we've got a good foundation, then there's we're winning games, and everybody's excited by the way we're playing. No one's even going to remember this, and I understand that. So everything that seems terrible and end of the world kind of stuff now, it's not even remembered in 6 months' time once you get everything right. And that's what I've learnt from my life experiences, and that's all I focus on now. So whatever people are saying, they're right. The fans are here to, you're winning games, you're losing games. You win, you're good. You lose, you're bad. That's it. It's as simple as that. So I need to win. So I need to make sure I do the things to win. So my character, my upbringing has brought me to a place where I'm quite comfortable being uncomfortable, and sometimes this season has been very uncomfortable. But again, I'm very calm, knowing that it'll always pass, and then as long as we have the foundation that we need to kick on, and that starts with the new signings and the things that we're doing around the club. As long as we do that, then we have a good chance to turn it around, and then no one remembers what happens in the past.
Just on your upbringing there, I know your dad, obviously a big figure in your life, and he still gives you some blunt advice these days as well, doesn't he? Which reminds me of a conversation we had not so long ago, where he has quite a blunt assessment sometimes of what's going on.
He hasn't always been involved in the football side of it, but so in terms of the technical, knowing what's required to be at a top level, whether it's a player or a coach. So his assessment of our playing sometimes, or whatever it is, it's very, very direct, but it's all meant to help, I guess. But no, it's like, I think one thing, and you mentioned it before, is that everybody's a fan. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone knows best. Everyone knows better. And I just go with the flow and entertain it, and as best as I can, and move on.
I think we all do that with our dads once you get to a certain age. Yeah, it's just exactly. Yes, Dad. Yes, Dad. Of course, you're right. You played a bit of tennis as well, didn't you, when you were young, to a decent standard? What sort of level did you get to?
Well, this is back when I was 10 or 11. Yeah, I mean, I had to decide actually between football and tennis. So, what level? I can't even remember what level, how they did the levels back then. But I was going around the circuit and playing tournaments and things like that. But I just remember it was a very lonely sort of experience. Your mum and dad go and drive you somewhere, and you're on your own a lot. So it was very different to a team sport. I was always built for a team sport. I like that connection with your teammates, that collective challenge of winning rather than just being on your own. Very different mindset you need for tennis, but that's why I appreciate the way the tennis players go about their business. But obviously, to be a footballer and part of a group, much more enjoyable for me. That's why, at a very early age, I picked football, and never looked back.
And on playing groups during your playing career, which was the most enjoyable playing group to be a part of?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to say the Socceroos. I mean, I know it's not a team like club team, but for me, it was always the pinnacle of whatever I was aspiring to do was to be in the Socceroos. So I was, going back to my dad. I was brought up to go to school and learn a job, and so I was studying law in my younger years, and so I didn't really expect to be playing professional football. So when it came about, everything was a bonus. So playing in the A League, well, back then was NSL, a bonus. Then started scoring goals, and then I was in the Socceroos, and then it was like that was for me like wow, just so quickly went bang bang bang, and then we ended up being in the Socceroos. So for me, every time I was in the Socceroos, I took it as this could be my last time. I mean, grateful that I'm even in the Socceroos. Ended up playing 30 games for them. So that was, for me, the highlight, that every time I was with them. And then you meet the guys that come from all over the world. Some of the guys like Mark Viduka and Harry Kuehl, and, when they're coming in, Tim Cahill, and it was, there's like these guys are, starring in bigger clubs and bigger leagues than I was playing in. And so to then come all together and, trying to help the Socceroos get to the next level, because we weren't very well respected back then. So we've come leaps and bounds. But back then everything was a fight, not just for us to get in the team, but also for us to elevate Australian football. So, yeah, just loved it.
Well, Stan Lazaridis was a part of
many of those. I think I played nearly every game with Laz, to be honest.
We'll get on to your relationship with him now. What was he like as a teammate back then?
To be honest, he's very much he was very much like he is now. He's just got so much energy about him and very positive. So, yeah, just I think around the group in terms of the Socceroos, that positive energy that he always had, and I think we were all very happy to see each other, and that was very good when we got together. And Stan was one of those that just always the life of the party kind of guy around the dressing room and all of that. And I think anyone who knows him, you can see it's very similar. Hasn't changed much. So yeah, so very fond memories of the Socceroos and Laz there as well, and obviously now to be working together, and it's a big job, and obviously a lot is on Stan's plate, and I don't think people realise how much he has to do. It's not just the men's game; it's the NPL, it's the women's, it's the admin structure, and so many different levels to the role that he's doing, and it's just so much work. And again, goes back to your first question: is like the job is so much bigger than what we anticipated a big job, but it's just so many layers. There's just a lot more work and more time needed to get things right.
How influential was Stan in getting you to take the position in the first place? And was it just a question of you just had to accept it just to get him off the phone?
No, it was I think it's just one of those things, how it just came up. And obviously at Sydney FC, everybody was liking the way we were playing and the style. We changed the style, and we were playing very aggressive pressing style at the time. So Stan wanted to bring that to the club as well, but obviously it was very late in the piece when I signed on here, and so when putting the team together, we didn't have much room at the end to work on things together. But now we have done, and this is the first window that we've been able to do it. But back then, yeah, it was just, I think he knows me, my character, so he knows a lot about me. He knows also that I didn't just jump at the first job I was offered. I wanted to develop and make sure I developed as much as I could before I took the job, to take the right job as well. And this is a big job, and it's a tough job, and it's a transitional job, and all the stuff that I'd learnt. Again, go back to Leipzig, was learning about how do you build a club and a culture and all the different layers of it. So it's all stuff that we're trying to do here. So yeah, when we had that conversation about that, and basically, emphasised and confirmed all the things that he sort of knew anyway, and knowing my character was pretty easy. And I know Stan's character and what he's trying to achieve, and the fact that he hasn't been at Perth, and he didn't just jump into Perth straight away either. It took a long time for him to come and be in this role. So just so passionate and so authentic about him wanting to do well and be here. It's just very easy to convince me that, because I'm going to be working closely together with him. So we want to be sure that we're on the same page, and that was very clear early on.
Yeah, how closely do you work with Stan? As an example, like how many phone conversations would you have with him a day? Or how many conversations in general? What does a week with Stan look like for you?
I think we speak to each other more than we do our partners, so that's probably not a good thing. Again, it goes back to the fact that we have so many things to do that we have to make so many decisions on all levels. And I guess the assumption might be that we're just talking about the first team, and it's not. It's just many layers of different things that we need to create the club and the foundation that we want to have success. And it's not just the starting 11 and the first team squad. You know, we're heavily involved in what does the NPL look like. Before the season, they were nearly relegated, and we stepped in to help to make sure that because it's just the structure wasn't there, and then the young players that were training with us and playing there, just the flow wasn't working. So that was a massive, unexpected sort of thing that we had to sort of look after, and while we were going through the pre-season, and so a lot of phone calls on that, and then obviously every new player that we're looking at, and all the movements that are coming in and out, and just so much to it. So we're on the phone, and if we're not on the phone talking to each other, we're texting. Like, even when I scroll through the text and I'm like, when was that text? And you don't realize how many actual texts that you give each other. It's a lot. Put it this way, far too many, I think.
And he does wear his heart on his sleeve. How hard has it been to see him, I suppose, receive the flack that he's received over the last few months? Because he does, like I said, I think I've seen you close up, and you are able to kind of, I suppose, I don't know whether you digest it, take it on board and move on. Whereas I know Stan's a little bit more emotional. I've seen him down. I've seen him down a fair bit over the last few months. How difficult has that been to witness?
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, we are a little bit different in that. I mean, I've explained that I just focus on the next issue that I need to. So none of that really affects me too much. I'll be honest. I thought it might do if I was in the situation where we weren't winning games, but it's actually I'm very clear in what I need to do. Stan, he does. I think that's what we like about him is he's really authentic. So you see when he's up, you see when he's down, but he's also very focused. I mean, maybe outwardly we project a little bit differently, but the focus and determination in getting it right and managing is the same. So, so from that part of view, it's not easy to see, but in terms of what Stan does, and all I can say is it's unbelievable how much he has to do. It's again the men, the women, the NPL, and all the different comings and goings of players and coaches and the infrastructure around the teams and what needs to be done. That's just constant. So you talk about the messages and the phone calls between me and Stan. Stan's having 100 times those conversations with all agents and family and parents and players, and so it's a lot of workload. So I think for me, in terms of seeing that, and obviously there's a lot of criticism. You win, you're good. You lose, you're bad. We get that, but you don't want anyone else other than Stan in this role trying to fix the club, because he is solely and purely just wanting to make this club better. And I know when you look at results, you go, he's not. You don't want anyone else doing it, because the amount of workload that he gets through, and he doesn't always have he doesn't have all the resources that he to help him just yet. That's all part of the process of us helping to get a team together, not just coaching stuff, everybody together, that way we can function better. And that's a process, getting the right people in, the right, we got budgets and all this, and we got to manage things from the past and all of this stuff. That's all Stan doing that, and he's doing it with great enthusiasm and passion. So the criticism you get, I understand it, but also I'm very, very clear that you don't want anyone other than Stan doing this, because he is just so focused. And what he doesn't know, he'll learn. Same with me. If I get something wrong, I'll try and fix it. I'm not gonna try and obviously not gonna make the same mistake twice. I'm gonna learn from it and try and fix it. So from that point of view, we've got the same mentality.
All right, we're going to lighten things up ever so slightly now.
That wasn't light?
I did. Well, it sort of was, and then it wasn't, and then it was.
Yeah.
We are going to move on to the dream car rental dream team. Now, I did tip you off about this before. It is basically a.
You didn't give him much time though.
I didn't know. I gave you. I didn't want you to overthink it. That's why. I just wanted you to just. Yeah. Well, I could see you're still jotting and crossing things out now. Basically, 6-a-side team of players that you've played. I think we said with and against. I think
you weren't very clear on the rules.
Well, I just I didn't want to restrict you.
Okay.
So you have to be in it, and you have to have a proper goalkeeper, and otherwise you can just go for your life. So who have you gone for?
Okay, so you said I have to be in it, so I forgot to include myself. So I need 5 other players.
Well, you can have a sub now if you want. If you've got 7 down there.
Well, can I be the sub?
Yeah, go on. You can. Yeah, go on. You can be
All right.
sub.
So for a goalkeeper, I put someone I play with, Željko Kalac. In his prime, he was just a great character, and he can also play. So I've been very strategic. He can also play out on the field, so he can come out of goals and be an extra player. That's what they're doing these days in the futsal and all that. So I didn't really have a defender in there, so I put Lothar Matthäus. I played against him in Germany. In midfield, played against Steven Gerrard at Liverpool. He was one of those guys that was just. He just controlled the game, so I just always liked him, and then playing against him, I just thought that was excellent. David Beckham played against him, good-looking guy.
Not a bad side.
Not a bad. Yeah, played against him, not with him. And Dwight York up front, so I played with him at Sydney FC, so I just thought, and then I'll put myself in there, so I think that's 6.
That's a very attacking side. I like this.
Yeah, we've one defender in there.
We've had a couple of defenders. It's interesting. We've had a couple of defenders on previous shows, and it's been very much 2 centre-backs, holding midfielder, 1 mid... And then
Lothar Matthäus has to take care of all of that on his own.
Yeah, this is a dynamic side. So just run it through again. So we went for...
So Željko Kalac is a goalkeeper, Lothar Matthäus, Steven Gerrard, David Beckham, Dwight York, and me.
Not bad. Not bad. I'm going to give you another list now.
Okay.
And we did allude to this at the start of the show. We've got Danny Hay, Roberto Martinez, Neil Emblin, Gareth Ainsworth, Carl Robinson, Steve Corica, yourself, Darren Baisley. All played for Walsall in 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
All now at very high level coaching. What was going on in the West Midlands back then?
I wouldn't have picked any of us to be coaches back then, except Roberto Martinez. He was already thinking about that, so he was very strategic in just the way he thought about, we were all just lads having fun, and we were all quite young at the time. But Roberto was already thinking about life after football, so it's no surprise that he's gone on to be a top manager like he is. But all the other ones, very, very surprised.
So when did you start thinking about coaching in that case?
Not until late in my career. I was like, I think now you've got the PFA and you've got a lot of programs that are helping players already think about. Back then it wasn't like that. It was like, you're a football player and that's it. Towards the back end of my career, it was already like we were starting to get a little bit of like, you should be looking at what's happening after football. And I was like, what do I want to do? And so coaching was one of them, but I didn't really. It's a very difficult different skill set than playing. So I didn't know if I saw myself being a coach. I think many coaches actually start out that way, So I got into media, just happened to land in media, and that's sort of the tactical side of it really interests me. And obviously there weren't many opportunities in Australia back then. So I was sort of like torn between the media and doing both, yeah. And then what happened was just a click. There was just a click, like I just that's all I want to do. So then I let the media go, and that's why I went overseas, because I just thought I need to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can, and at the highest level. And then once I did that, it was just like, where can I implement this? And obviously I had many roles in different countries as an assistant coach, and then now as a head coach. So, that was my journey.
So media-wise, interesting that you've made that jump from being on the one side, the sort of punditry side, to then sitting in the hot seat after, after a disappointing defeat. All the lights are on you, some hard questions coming at you. How have you found that movement from one? I guess in some ways almost from one extreme to the other.
It's all the same, to be honest. It's. I understand the situation. I understand the questions. I understand we win. You did a great job. You lost. What happened? And and I'm very comfortable speaking, and I learned that through all my media training and all the different environments that I worked in the media. I was not only as an expert, but I was also doing some reporting, and I was also a host. I hosted a World Cup, so I'm comfortable talking, I'm comfortable in front of the camera, and I'm comfortable knowing that this is their job to ask me the questions. You haven't won a game, why not? What's going on? And you've won a game, great, how do you feel? All that kind of stuff. So I'm very comfortable. So when you go back to your questions about me being able to navigate this situation, it's I've trained for it. I've done it. I've done it on many different levels. The fact that I haven't been a head coach in the A-League before is, obviously was my choice to wait this long. But also, I think I'm very well prepared for the situation that this club has provided in terms of a very big transitional period and a very big job in changing the many layers of it, which starts with the football identity and the culture. We haven't seen all of that yet, and that's the big part of the project, but it's coming.
How frustrated have you been that you haven't been able to sort of showcase those elements of the project as quickly as you would have liked?
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I mean, even more so that we started so well, and in the early starts of the pre-season where we were playing really high energy and attacking football. The thing about the pre-season, which is very, it can be deceptive, is that you don't know what level you're at compared to the other team, so it can be a little bit sometimes deceiving, and obviously it was in a positive way for us because we were predominantly had a great pre-season and a lot of good things there. There were signs, that there were things that we had to fix, but obviously when we hit the A-League with that mismatch of players that have played all the time and a larger group that were injured and weren't fit enough, then it just became a little bit disjointed. But yeah, in terms of our playing style, and I think now at least we're getting back to being able to be more energetic and high intensity. But you can see you need all the elements there. You need the right, the right training, the right playing group, and we're slowly evolving into that at least scenario where we can play that way. And I think in the last recent games you've seen that we've given ourselves a chance to be in the game and win the game right up until the 90th minute, with the only exception probably Sydney FC. And even Sydney FC, the first half was very, we didn't give them much chance. We didn't have the ball, but we didn't give them many chances. So the last 4 or 5 games have been much better in terms of having a go, but we need to keep ramping up the intensity now.
And just finally, mate, because time is catching up with us, if you had to give the Glory members and fans listening at the moment a message, on watching as well on YouTube, of course, what would that message basically be for the rest of the season and beyond?
I think definitely to stick with the club, stick with the team, because you can see that the changes are being made. Yes, there's frustration that it hasn't happened immediately, but the changes are happening, and there's a lot going on that is not always evident. But I think now you've seen the first step is the summer signings, the January signings. You can see what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the balance right in, better the team. So just stick with us. The energy and the atmosphere at our home stadium is just unbelievable. And despite all the negative results and all that, as soon as something positive happened against West United, you just felt this buzz there, just waiting for it to come alive. So all I would say is just be patient. We are doing everything we can to change all the things around the club that are going to give us sustained success, and slowly and gradually we're going to get there. So just stick with us, and we need your support. We appreciate your support, and when that stadium, our home stadium, is rocking, there's no better atmosphere.
And obviously a lot of football still to be played this season, but are you confident that come pre-season heading into next year that you'll be able to basically have a squad that you're happier with, preparations that you're happier with, so that come round one you can hit the ground running?
Definitely. I mean, firstly, we're the mentality of the group now is we want to win every game. Even in Newcastle, it was a bit of a tough trip. We were very flat in the first half, but we were lucky to go in at 1-1. But the message was, don't waste this opportunity that's been given to us, because and to go out, and this is a game that we can fight our way back into and win, and we nearly had a chance at the end. Deserved or not deserved, we gave ourselves a chance to win the game, and that wasn't happening previously. So firstly, win every game, and now we've got 2 home games, and that's the mentality that the group is going to take in there, and playing a really attractive, aggressive style. Moving forward, as we keep putting pieces together, and whatever chance we have, we're going to keep adding to the squad to make it stronger. And the balance is not just, we want to make sure that we're nurturing young talent as well. You see some of the young ones like Pierman, Frenny, Labib. I mean, these guys, it's a pillar that we want young guys to develop and play. So there's a lot of levels to what we're trying to do. But yeah, and we're going to use all the windows that we have available to us to make sure that we keep enhancing the squad and then become stronger and stronger. And I think, again, in the last few weeks, you've seen that, but we need more and more and more.
David, it's been fantastic to chat, as
Thanks,
always, mate. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. I'd like to thank Drimtel as well, our official Glory Stories podcast sponsor. We will be back very soon indeed for another episode. Catch us then.